Hey everybody, welcome on to this great Q&A session with Drew Seymour about his upcoming Raku workshop. I'm Jessica Putnam-Phillips. We're excited to have Drew joining us today. So you know on ClayShare we have a lot of workshops with other artists that come and they'll teach something and share their specialties with you. And we have one coming up with Drew Seymour. He is my go-to kiln tech, glaze guru, and Raku firing king, right? So we're so excited to have him doing this workshop. It's a big one. It's a three-parter. And what's great about this workshop is you get the opportunity to make your own piece, send it to Drew, and then he'll fire it for you. And so I thought it'd be really great for Drew to come on and talk more about what you're going to get. If you all have questions, this is your chance to ask questions of Drew or of me. And if you don't know what Raku firing is, Drew might give a little overview quickly with that. But I don't want to keep y'all from asking Drew questions, so here we go. Hey, Drew.
Hey, Jess. Hey, Kevin. Hi, everybody at ClayShare. I'm here to talk to you about my workshop that's coming up. So I really wanted to do something. Yeah. I really wanted to do something with Raku, and I know that Jess and I had talked about doing a Raku class last year, but with COVID and everything, it's been difficult. So what I want to do is I'm going to take you all through the Raku process throughout my workshop. And basically, we're going to start off learning about what the Raku process is, the origins of it, how it was brought to the West, all the ins and outs of, the Raku as an art form as well as a production process. We're gonna have examples. I have examples of Raku pots here to show you. For anybody that doesn't know what Raku is, we'll talk about what Raku pots are. And that's gonna be our first session. And that first session is gonna be next Saturday, I believe, right? The 14th.
It is. It's next Saturday, so it's coming up.
So we'll be doing a live, not necessarily a Q&A, but you guys will be able to ask. It'll be interactive. You guys will be able to ask questions and things like that. And we're going to talk about Raku. And then following that, each month.
You're also going to go over the history of Raku, aren't you, in part one? So it's
Yep.
going to be kind of how, that came here and how we use it today in the modern ceramic practice.
Yeah, absolutely. All the origins and everything. And then we're going to be going through, so I've got it set up so that we're going to do one live session a month. So next Saturday will be our first live session. That's going to be informational. In the meantime, you'll be able to make your own Raku pot at home. You can choose from one of the three classes we've selected from Jessica's library of classes, basically. And that is going to be either the Harvest Pumpkin, the Jack-o'-lantern luminary, or the Owl luminary, all really fall-focused classes, because when we're finished with all of this, it's going to be in the fall, and you guys will be getting your fall projects back. So the option to make your own Raku pot, send it to me, have it fired during the workshop, and sent back to you is there. That part's optional. It's not required. The main part of the workshop is learning about the Raku process. The second class that we're going to have in September, which is on the 25th of September, that is going to be basically a how to make your own Raku kiln. And I'm going to have a couple different setups to show you how we can make your own Raku kiln that you can use at home out of a big metal garbage can and some materials that you'll need to get. But then I'll also go over, converting an old electric kiln into a Raku kiln and things like that. And so that's going to be next month's class
in September. And
how to build your own.
Yeah, and the how to build your own is, that alone would be a workshop. That's huge. And I'm really excited for that because we were going to build one and we didn't get the chance to. So now I'm going to get the chance to build a Raku kiln, and everybody participating in the workshop could build their own Raku kiln too after they take this. So that's part 2. And then
part 3, which is going to be the following month. So we're going to do, one live class session for this workshop per month. So we've got the informational class next weekend. We've got the how to build your own Raku kiln the following month. And then in October, on the, on the 23rd of October, I'm going to be doing, we'll be doing a live stream on how to fire your Raku kiln. What do you need to fire? What do you need to know? How do you know when to do what? So it's going to be a how-to start to finish on how to do the firing. And then I'm going to fire all the pots that we have. So we'll probably just leave it up as a live stream for anybody that wants to see it. And we'll just go through and do all of the pots. So yeah, and anything, if you wanted to participate in the visiting pot part of the workshop, just make one of the projects that we've, set aside for you out of Raku clay and have it sent in to me.
So we have some good questions coming in. What happens if you're in Canada?
Here's the thing. You can send it to me. If you are in Canada and you want to send me a Raku pot, that's fine. Packaging is important. I know Jessica has a class on how to pack your work. And so, making sure that you package it really well so that it comes to me in one piece. And then what we'll do is I will apply glaze here and fire it, repackage it, and send it to you. The fact that you're in Canada just means that the shipping is going to be a little bit more. That's all. So, it's totally up to you. If you want to do it, do it.
Yeah. And so I see some questions about access to these workshops. They're going to happen live, and they're going to be three separate broadcasts. The first 2 are going to be 2 to 3 hours. I forget what we said. They were going to be 3 hours each.
Yeah, I think they were. First
2
one
to
was
3.
a couple.
Yeah. And then the last one, the live one where he fires, that one could end up being 4 or 5 hours. It just depends how long it takes for the actual instruction on how to fire your kiln, and then the actual firing of the pieces that were sent in. And you're going to live stream till it's done, right? You're going to do everybody's.
Yeah, I'm going to live stream until it's done. But the first firing, the instructional part of that last video, of that last portion of the Raku firing, the instructional part will probably be about an hour and a half. That's going to be start to finish from when we load the Raku kiln, close it up, turn it on, fire it, pull the pots out, and then get them to a complete state. That's going to take about an hour and a half. And that will be the instructional part. And then after that, we're just going to keep firing load after load until all of the Raku pots are done. So, that part of the workshop is going to be as long as it is based on the work that gets sent to me. So, if we don't have a ton of work, it may only be a couple of firings. If I get hundreds of pots, it's going to be a while.
And if you can't make the live, of course, everything's recorded, and anybody who signs up for our workshops, you get access to these workshops forever. So the only thing that anybody is going to miss out on that is signing up down the line, like a year from now, which they can still sign up, is they can't do the visiting pot program. So that Drew and I talked about that, and we weren't even going to put that in as part of it. That was something we did after we'd set up the structure, set up the workshop. And he was like, I want to do something extra. So the visiting pot program is just an extra little thing that only is going to be available for the people participating in the live that participate now. Down the line, you're still going to get all the great information. You're still going to get the instruction. You're going to still learn how to fire your kiln and all about Raku firing. You're just not going to get an actual piece fired. So if you're looking at this and you're not in the US and you're like, yeah, but sending that pot, that, I'm not going to be able to do that. That's not really figured in the cost of the workshop. That's just an extra thing that we put in there for everybody. So don't think you're missing out if you can't do that part.
Right. The workshop's really going to be for anybody that's been interested in Raku, but that doesn't have that outlet. If you take this workshop, you will be able to go from having nothing to creating your own kiln and firing it with confidence, without you know, having me stand right there next to you, but you still be able to follow along step by step with the firing and things like that. And you'll be able to ask questions while we're doing it on the live one.
Of course. And so we got some questions about, is it expensive to build a Raku kiln? People want to know ahead of time. They want to know if they're getting into this, how expensive
ahead of time, is it? You can build a Raku kiln for next to nothing. Especially if you have like, you can find like an old used electric kiln that you can convert into a Raku kiln. And really all you need to do is cut a hole in the side, cut a hole in the top. The expensive part of the Raku kiln is the burner system. The burner system is about $350, $400. So just keep in mind that that's where like most of your cost is. If we're looking at making a Raku kiln from scratch, like I'm going to show you, the aluminum can is only going to be $50, $60. The fiber isn't going to cost all that much. It's the burner system that is important. And so the burner system that we make has, a regulator, a dual hookup, a Venturi burner, all of the proper fittings and everything. So that is where most of the cost is. To get a prefabricated Raku kiln, like if we used to sell, but I don't sell them anymore, they were closer to like the $1,500 to $1,700 range. But this is something that you should be able to make at home for $500 or less.
Yeah, so, I mean, it can be very affordable. And
yeah.
So we got a couple other questions that there were no instructions on how people should sign their work, so we know whose is whose.
Well, I am going to take care of all of that when you send it to me. I will be taking notes and doing all of that on my end.
But if you want to sign your work, just sign it like you normally would. If you sign on the
sign
bottom,
it the way you normally would.
Now, I don't know if you want to flip to me. I'll show you the clay when you fire is going to turn black in the kiln. So if you use something like I do with black underglaze and sign through the black, it's not going to show. So you need to come up with something different, or just carve your name in the bottom, or if you have a chop or a stamp your name in it, and that's enough. That will work on the very bottom. So that's what I would suggest. I would suggest everybody stamps or signs their names on the bottom of their piece. It will still show, just so that you and also you want to sign your work. You want that to be there. You don't want.
And when you send it in, and when I unpack it, I know it's going to be who it's coming from. I'm going to have all of your address information and everything. And what I normally do in a situation like this is I'm going to unpack the piece. I'm going to flip it over and look at the maker's mark. I'm going to write your name down on a piece of paper, and then I'm going to take a picture of your piece with its maker's mark next to your name. And then when they're fired, we're going to match them all up and send them back out. So I have a system here on the back end so that you guys don't have to worry about that.
No worries. Right. And so we got a question. What if they live in a city? Can they have a Raku kiln in their backyard? I mean, you're in Syracuse, you're in the city, you do it in downtown Syracuse.
Yeah, right? I just do it in the parking lot. There's a lot of smoke. A lot of it is going to depend on your neighbors, right? So the Raku kiln itself, it's usually not the kiln, it's the propane tanks and the hookup that people might have an issue with as far as an ordinance. If you're worried about that, that's something that I would look into ahead of time. But I've never had an issue. Like I've had the fire department show up when we're doing Raku, and they're like, yeah, as long as you're 10 feet away from the building, you're fine. Like, we use all organic burning materials. We use hay or straw. So we're not polluting the environment with, newspaper or other like products that burn that would not necessarily be good for the environment. So, a lot of that's just going to be between you and whatever municipality you're dealing with.
And I saw a suggestion that someone posted, if your neighbors don't mind, it also might be better to do your firing at nighttime so they don't see the smoke.
Yeah.
As long as you're, I mean, right?
Raku
Just
at night
check with
is
your
way more
city
fun.
ordinances and everything, and make sure you're not doing anything you shouldn't be. So I saw a question about the dates again and when to send in your pieces. So they are August 14th, September 25th, and October 23rd. Those are the dates for the workshop. But you have to send in your bisque fired piece. So you're going to make a piece. You are going to I've got my piece made already. It's bisque fired. I will send this to Drew bisqued. So we bisque it. And then he will give you a choice of 3 glazes. Is that my understanding?
And I have them here with me.
Ooh, well, let me finish and you'll show them. So you get your choice of 3 glazes and he'll glaze it, fire it, and send it back to you. So you just send the bisque pot to him. All right. Why don't you show the glazes?
So the 3 glazes that we have to choose from, I've got 2 copper glazes and 1 crackle glaze. There is the copper penny glaze, which is this like shiny metallic, but you can see it gets into like these oil spot blues and greens. So this is our shiny, like a glossy metallic copper. And then I have a matte version of that, which is this one here. And so very similar as far as color sequence. You get those blues, those greens, those silvers, that copper. So there's a matte. And then we have the white crackle, which is this white crackle color. And so anywhere where it's black like this is that bare clay. So that white clay turns black, just like Jess was saying earlier. So anywhere you leave it raw, it's going to be black.
Now, can somebody wax an area? And I mean, we'll talk more about this when we get to that point in the workshop, but they could wax an area so it stays unglazed. So you wax it.
If you wanted to, you could wax this. And I think that's what they did here is they waxed these little stamp inlays, waxed them, glazed the whole thing, and then that area, the wax burns off and leaves it black.
Great. And then you got the other sample you're going to show.
Oh yeah, this is just
that is amazing.
This is a piece of somebody that used to work here. They make these tile pieces with different Raku glazes. These glazes are his homemade ones. This is our copper penny though. This one here, that nice copper. So I mean, this is the appeal of Raku, right? Like people love.
That is gorgeous.
It's not food safe. You can't use it on foodware.
Nope, it's not food safe. No,
this is not going to
hold liquid.
So like I wouldn't be able to put flowers in this with water. It's not going to work. It's going to absorb out.
I do have a friend who makes vases, Raku vases, and what they do is they make their vases so that they have a little plastic insert that goes in their vases. So the liquid goes in that plastic insert. You still get that beautiful vase on the outside, and you can put live flowers in. It's just you're not the Raku, the nature of it's low fire, it stays porous. And we'll definitely talk about that more. Yeah. And there is specific clay you should use for Raku firing.
Yes, it's called Raku clay. We do have up on the Clayscapes website, I do have an option for you to buy a little 5-pound sample of Raku clay. So instead of buying 50 pounds of clay, you can get just 5 pounds, enough to make your one project for the Raku class, and then send it in. So there's that. But if you have a local clay supplier and they have a Raku clay body, that will be perfect. That would be fine. You can't use, it has to be Raku clay though. If I were to use B-Mix, it's going to explode. It's going to break. It's very, Raku clay needs to be very specifically super resistant to thermal shock, which is why there are Raku clay bodies, because they're specifically designed to withstand the temperature shift from 1800 degrees in the Raku kiln to room temperature. Basically, we're going to take that kiln off. That pot is 1800 degrees, and I'm going to take it out of the kiln at 1800 degrees, and it needs to be able to withstand that. B-Mix, low earthenware, other stonewares, even if they've got grog in them, are not going to be able to handle that. So I saw a couple questions as far as the cone of the bisque temperature. So
you have to have your bisque piece to Drew by October 9th. So in the first session of the workshop, Drew is going to go over the proper like bisquing and talk more about the clay and more about the technical aspects. So if you're watching this and you're like, yeah, but I don't know what to get now, you have time. You don't have to, he has to have the piece in hand by October 9th. So he has to have that piece to bisque fire by October 9th. Our first session is next Saturday. So we'll have our live session. We'll get all the info to you then so you can make your pots. You do want to order your clay if you've signed up and you haven't ordered your clay, get Raku clay. You can get it from Clayscapes. Your local clay supplier, doesn't matter. Just get yourself some Raku clay to use. And then I did see some more questions about the project. Now we assigned those 3 projects to this because I have tutorials on them so I can teach you how to make those pieces. So that's nice. The other thing is they are a good size for shipping and fitting in the kiln back and forth. Now, if somebody doesn't want to do those projects, are you okay with them doing something similar?
Yes.
You do one, and it's just one. You do one. It's one piece. You pick of the 3 projects. Yes, the one piece that you want to make.
Right. So the reason I originally limited it to these 3 classes was because, again, the size and the ease of being able to ship them. Ideally, and we have a little saying here at Clayscapes for Raku, it's tall and thin, put it in, short and stout, leave it out, wide and flat, don't do that. So anything that's like, if it's like mug sized, or, like there's this nice little, this Orby little vase, these are the perfect sizes. This here, this plaque, I don't want any of this. Right, like this is specialized. Pete does this at home in his own circumstance, but stuff that's wider and flatter or super thin, that stuff is more likely to break. And so we want to do manageable, shippable projects, which is the reason I picked the ones that we picked. I should say that Raku is inherently tricky. So disclaimer, like there's no perfect outcome for everybody. Like some of them are going to break. I will have extra pots here that I will have to glaze. Anybody's piece that breaks, I will wind up sending you like one of mine. So
we'll get their broken one and one of yours back. Depending how bad it breaks. So got a couple questions. Are we allowed to glaze our own and send it to you? Can they use their own glazes?
No. Well, you need very specific Raku glazes, and not all Raku glazes are considered equal. So Raku glazes melt at different temperatures depending on who. Like this white crackle melts at a hotter temperature than this copper penny, and so the balance of when things go in the kiln, where they go in the kiln based on the glazes on them. All of that's going to be talked about in the workshop. But if you want to glaze your own,
I would suggest they don't, because there could be one that it could be a lower melting temp than you go to, and then it runs and sticks. But the thing is, you're going to learn how to make your own Raku kiln. So you can build your own Raku kiln. And then you can use any glaze you want, right? When you fire it. But
you can send instructions. Like if I'm going to be glazing the pots, if you had a very specific idea of like, I want this part glazed, this way, I'm not going to be able to go in with like a detail brush and do super detailed with everything. But, if you know that you want half of it to be copper penny and half of it to be Hawaiian blue, I can do that, So there's some flexibility there in how I glaze, and if you wanted a special way, that's no problem.
And then another question: can we use other clay than Raku clay for this?
No, only Raku clay.
For this particular workshop, because Drew is going to be firing your piece in his kiln at specific temperatures. It's his equipment. So for this class, you have to use Raku clay, but you build your own Raku kiln. Then you can experiment with other clays. That's the beauty of this.
Other clays can work, but Raku clay does work. And so instead of like experimenting with other clays right now, We're going to limit it to only Raku clay because I know that that's the guarantee for success is much higher. And I want to make sure you get a finished product at the end of this instead of a pile of pottery shards. So Raku clay is the one we're sticking to. I have fired cone 10 stonewares in Raku. Some of them have worked, but it's not something I want to mess around with other people's pots.
And I see a lot of people are excited about this. And so really the goal behind this is we're going to teach you the history of Raku you might not know. We're going to teach you how to make pieces. We're going to teach you how to build your own kiln, how to fire your own kiln, how to glaze your pieces. I mean, this is everything. If you ever want to learn how to make your own Raku kiln, this is it. This is your opportunity to learn how to do it. And it's going to be a big workshop, and it's going to be fun. If you've never taken a workshop with Drew before, be ready for a good time because he's a blast, and he knows what he's how many years have you been doing this? A long time. I mean, he started when he was in diapers. So and toddled in and started firing kilns. So
that's right.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm excited for it. I've done Raku firing and I've fired my own kilns. I've never actually built my own Raku kiln. I've built other kilns, but not Raku kilns. So I'm excited because I'm going to build my own Raku kiln. Now, are you using Venturi burners in this?
So our burner system comes with, the burner system includes a Venturi burner, the hose that goes from the Venturi burner to, there's a pressure gauge, which then splits off as a dual hookup. So it hooks up to 2 propane tanks at once to reduce freezing of the propane. And so that burner system includes everything, the burner, the regulator, all the fittings and everything. So yeah, everything you need to basically just plug it into some propane tanks and fire it.
And I see some folks asking about bisquing their Raku clay. Can you bisque it with the B-mix in a regular bisque fire?
Fire it right in your regular bisque.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting because I'm gonna be firing a piece from 2013 that I've had on the shelves for a few years. So that's going to be going in. So we'll see how that works. Yeah, it's going to be so fun. So I see a few folks are wheel throwers, not hand builders. So you'd be okay with a small wheel thrown piece, similar in size to my owl luminary or my pumpkin luminary, any of those.
And I will say that with your, if you're going to do some wheel thrown work, again, we're kind of sticking to this mug or tumbler type cup size.
We will get dimensions for you in session 1. We'll have dimensions that you cannot exceed for the piece. So don't worry if you're watching.
Look great when you do cutouts. So if the luminaries, I specifically picked because the luminaries and the lanterns with the shiny metallic coppers, when you put a candle or a light in there, it really looks good. It looks really good. Look at all these.
So I know there's so many questions. If you have an outdoor kiln, does it need to be covered and protected from the elements?
Yes.
Yes.
So, and that has, brick and fiber, all these materials that you use to make kilns, they're all really fragile. So if you have an old electric kiln and you're using it as your Raku kiln, you're going to want to cover up that brick so it doesn't get wet. The from scratch Raku kiln that we're going to build is going to be really lightweight. So it's going to be something that one person should be able to lift up and move easily. So, that's something that you can store inside pretty easily. You're not going to have to worry about moving around this big, heavy kiln. It's going to be a lightweight, portable thing for you to make.
So someone says, can I call Clayscapes and say, hook me up for the Raku workshop? I mean, the 5 pounds of Raku clay reference above, copper penny glaze, and keep it the size of a mug. Yeah, I mean, you can call Clayscapes if you want to get your clay. Yes, to register for the workshop, just go to clayshare.com and you scroll on down to the bottom of the page and you will see Drew's workshop and you can sign up there. And when you sign up for that, you get access to the 3 lives. The first one starts next Saturday, August 14th. So it's coming up really soon. And then there'll be one September 25th and one October 23rd. And Also, I might even do a little, I know it's not included in the workshop. I know we weren't going to do it, but I might do a special session just for workshop participants where I will hand build and wheel throw a special luminary just for the workshop, just for you guys. I mean, if Drew doesn't mind, I will jump in and,
I don't mind at all.
I will do a little tutorial and we'll do something for the hand builders and the wheel throwers, but I'll do it soon because he needs the pieces. So I don't want to make him wait. So if you're worried that you're gonna, I don't know how to make any of this, well, I'll help you. I'll help you because I want you to have fun and I want you to learn how to make your own Raku piece, and I want you to have like something you're happy with. So
yeah, and pretty much as long as you make it out of Raku clay, like it'll be fine. It'll be okay. Like we're gonna have a blast. So
can a Raku kiln be used as a reduction kiln as well?
Yes,
it can. Yeah. You guys are getting into some good stuff with that.
So
right?
You can take with the burner system that we offer, and you hook it up to a couple of propane tanks. If you want to do higher temperatures, so like you could fire, you could go to cone 5 or cone 6 in reduction, and that's the cool thing about the Venturi burner. And I'll talk about that in my second class, where the Venturi burner, you can adjust the air intake, and then adjusting where the burner is will fire your kiln in either oxidation or reduction. So using the Raku kiln that we make can also turn into like a mid-range reduction fire if you want it. It'll just take longer to heat up, but it's totally doable.
So questions about the parts, where can they get drums? Where can they get burners and all that stuff? Are you going to have that? You're going to have
I'm going to have a list
everybody.
of all the materials for that class. And so for that class, I'll get the list out ahead of time, and then we'll just go from there. But yeah, I will have a list of all the materials and the quantities of what you'll need and things like that. So, and
Lisa's like, can I buy the burners now?
We sell them, so you can.
They have them, yeah. Are they on the website right now? Do you have them listed there?
No, I don't have the burners on the website. It's a specialty thing that I make for people, that we make for people when they ask for them. It's not something I've put out there as a product yet. We're gonna go through this workshop and then maybe I'll put that out there. But if you want a burner system, if you want all the stuff to make the Raku kiln, you're gonna have to wait for the list, and then
gotta get it together.
Yes, and then I'll have the list of what you'll need to put it together. So
we have a question that's been asked a few times. Some folks are asking about consistency with glazes and their experience that no two pieces ever come out the same when they're Raku fired. Have you found a way to have more consistent results for folks? So if they want this white crackle finish, are they going to get this white crackle finish?
Yes. And so I've been using my Raku kiln for a long time. And so I know how it works. I know that for my Raku kiln, I want to put the white crackle stuff in the back of the kiln and the copper penny stuff in the front of the kiln, because the back fire is hotter. And if the copper penny is done too early, it can get ruined. So there's a whole learning curve to, what you're firing and where you want to put it in the kiln to get the ideal results, and then how quickly it needs to get pulled out. So if I've got a piece with this copper on it, I'm going to put it closer to the front of the kiln because I need to pull it out of the kiln and put it into the reduction barrel as fast as possible. And if it's in the back of the kiln, I have to go around all these other pieces to get it. So that is definitely something that I will cover in the class. But yes, there are things that you can do to maximize your yields, your good production of pots. It's very rare that I will break or drop a pot. It happens to everybody, especially if you're new. That may happen, but I've got all sorts of tips and tricks for you guys to bypass that.
So we got a question about wheel thrown pieces. Should it be thicker walls than normal, or can it be thin walls?
Nope. You want normal. You don't want anything.
Walls.
So anything thin. There's a couple of things, and when you're making your pieces, like if you make a platter, for example, your rim's going to break because we've got thicker clay and thinner clay. They heat up at different rates, and heating them up is not as much of a problem. But as soon as that piece that's really thin hits room temperature, when you take it out of the kiln from 1,000 degrees, that thermal shock that your Raku clay kind of helps to disperse. Thinner pieces are much more likely to crack and break because of thermal shock, because there's not as much leeway there. There's not as much stuff, so it goes and shocks it and cracks it, which is why we want just normal stuff. You don't want to go extra thin. You don't need it to be super extra thick. Just a very, quarter, what's this, like an
quarter
eighth,
inch,
quarter inch to
eighth and a quarter inch, just normal thickness. Don't go paper thin.
This
you
is
don't want it to,
so this,
but you don't want it to crazy thick. Yeah.
This is wood right here. So this is the slab that Peter made, and he fires his upright in this kiln, and he takes them out one at a time, and it takes forever. So like there are different ways to do different things. I'm not saying it's not doable, but in the process that we are going to be doing, where I'm going to be pulling multiple pieces quickly, flat work, tile work, large work isn't going to be suitable for it.
So I'm seeing some folks asking questions about what size of Raku kiln would the burners work for? We're going to go over that in detail when we build the kiln, though, right?
Yeah, we're going to go over
something
that.
We're going to talk about.
It's going to be like a 35. I think the can that we're going to use is going to be like a 35-gallon can. And I use mine's a 50-gallon barrel, and it will do even more than that. And we could get bigger burners. We could get bigger burners if you wanted to make a bigger kiln.
Yeah, I mean, you can build. So will it fire? Wait, I have a question. Will the kiln we're going to build fire more than one piece at a time?
Yeah.
Yeah, it will. It will fire more than one. And you can build a kiln to your needs. You can build it as big or as small as you want. I mean, that's entirely up to you. And you can tailor it to what you do. If you teach at a clay center and you're going to have students that need to fire things, you're going to want a little bit bigger kiln. If you're doing it by yourself and you want to be able to fire your kiln like 2 times a week or something, you maybe don't want a big kiln, a small one, just put 3 pieces in and fire them a few times a week, right? So it just depends on your needs and what you're doing in pottery right now. So another question, can you apply underglaze on the bisque pieces?
Yes. So if you want white crackle, you can do underglaze. So we call this white crackle because it's white and it's crackled, right? But it's technically a clear glaze. This white that you're seeing is the color of the clay. So if you were to apply an underglaze, say a red circle, and then we do white crackle over it, that red circle will show through. It'll crackle over it, and you'll have this white crackle surface over whatever underglaze you do. So yeah, you can definitely do that.
And then will this workshop cover Raku via pit firing as well?
No. So there's a lot. So Raku is a huge thing. And part of what we'll talk about in the first section next weekend is going to be there's the traditional Japanese Raku, and then there's the westernized version of Raku that we know. But there are all kinds of pit fire, barrel fire, sagger fire, naked Raku, alcohol reduction Raku. Like there's a vast majority of, firing in this Raku kiln that we're probably not going to cover. This is going to be focused on getting you comfortable with the idea of what you're going to be doing, making your own Raku kiln, and then being confident in firing it. And that's really what we're going to focus on.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to get you going. And then once you have this under your belt, you can do whatever you want with it. If someone cannot make their own piece, can they just get one from you? Do you just send them a piece?
I mean, yeah.
Why
So
not?
we have a Raku party every year, and we do that. Like, these are the pieces that our artists here at Clayscapes make for our Raku Day, where the public just comes in, grabs a pot, throws some paint on it, some glaze on it. We fire it, they take it home. So I have like boxes and boxes of bisqued Raku pieces that I can do. Just, yeah, I mean, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, you can.
Those are we charge $10 a pot for that.
But
So,
not for this. If you're doing the workshop, you can pick one.
Yeah.
And you can pick a glazed. Drew will glaze it for you, and then you'll get a pot from the workshop.
Send it along.
Send it to you. So the great thing about this is you can make a kiln any size you want.
Yes. I'm going to show you the technique on how to line the can that you're going to be using. But you can use that, any kind of empty void. If you took chicken mesh or chicken wire or chain link fence and made whatever form you wanted to, and then line it with the fiber, you have a Raku kiln. So I'm going to show you one way to do it. And that's going to give you the premise that you need to go and build your own.
And we had a question about, is it possible to do a front load versus a top load?
Yep,
versus a lift, like a lift kiln.
Yep, so I have all of those. When I show you how to make the Raku kiln, that I'm going to have different Raku kilns that we use here. I've got a front load, I've got a bell lift, I've got a lift off, we've got a top load. So there's all different options. Basically, we'll cover all of that in the workshop.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot. This workshop's huge. So it's basically going to cover everything you ever wanted to know about Raku firing, and teach you how to build a Raku kiln and how to fire a Raku kiln. So it's going to be a lot. Plus, I'm adding in the bonus. I'm going to teach you how to make a pot. So that was a little thing I tossed in. If you are a premium member of clayshare.com, we have classes pulled out from our bank of classes that you can use as a guide to make something from. If you're not a member, well, I'll give you a little class so that you have that you'll have a tutorial. So you're not just lost in wanting to know what you can make, something that's the appropriate size. So we'll take care of that for you, because I don't want that to hold anybody back from doing the workshop. And also, if you're a premium member, remember, you guys always save 20%, including on this workshop, you'll save 20%. So if you're going to sign up for it, use our special link just for premium members that you can get on clayshare.com. You have to go to the website, not the app, under forums, and you'll see it. So, all right. Any other questions before we go? Drew, do you have anything last you want to say? We ran a little bit over because everybody's super excited.
I'm excited. Lighting
once you do,
fire, so.
Once you do, yeah, I don't get too excited. We start talking about Raku firing. If you want a preview of what Raku firing is all about, if you don't know, go to ClayShareCon 2021. We had the special after party we did at Clayscapes. We did a surprise Raku firing. So if you want a little bit of a taste of the fun and the excitement of Raku firing, you can go watch that video on the website on clayshare.com and on the app for free. It's part of our annual ClayShareCon. And so this last year was a really fun surprise Raku firing. So check that out if you want. If you need to see some visual excitement to kind of get you going. Everybody is excited. Doesn't matter if the can is galvanized.
Nope.
No. And we'll get into all this. So all these are very detailed questions, and we'll get into all of them down the line. So if you think you want to learn how to do Raku, learn how to make your own Raku pots, this workshop's for you. You're going to love this. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have fun with it because I'm going to get to teach a little bit, and we're going to fire some stuff. I do want to let my folks that are coming to my workshop in Syracuse know that this workshop's going to be very different than what we do at my workshop. Yeah, we'll make one little piece during my workshop, but we're not going to learn in my workshop about the history of Raku. We're not going to learn about how to build your own kiln. We're not going to learn how to glaze and fire. We're not doing all that in my workshop. This right here is a much more in-depth workshop than and it's really just about the Raku process. My workshop's more about surface decoration. So it's just a little extra fun thing we threw in for a bit of it. So, all right. I want to see if we have any quick questions before we go. Someone missed the 3 projects you can choose from. They are my Harvest Pumpkin, my owl luminary and my jack-o'-lantern luminaries. But I decided I'm going to do a quick I'll do a hand building luminary special for this, and I will do a wheel thrown one special for this for the folks out there who aren't premium members. So there'll be that for you guys, because I want to make sure everybody gets, what they want out of this. So.
It's so fun. Any excuse for me to burn pots, I'm excited for.
Oh, all right. So Kevin was just telling me that we did set it up with this workshop. If you sign up for the workshop, anybody taking it gets access to those 3 classes. So if you're not a premium member of ClayShare, you still get access to those 3 classes, so you can watch them for the workshop. So you can have those. So that's a little thing. So we already put those in. Thank you. Cool. I wasn't in on that, so now I know. So this will be great.
Take it back. Jessica's not making any pots now.
No, I will. So it's going to be really fun. It's going to be really fun. And if you can't make those 3 pots, Drew will give you dimensions next Saturday in part 1 that you just have to stay within those parameters. And if you make a pot that stays within those parameters, you can send that as well. So you send one piece. You pick the piece you send. So this one piece is like your test piece. You make it, you send it to Drew. He'll glaze and fire it for you. He'll send it back. But you're going to learn to build your own kiln, how to glaze and fire your own pieces. So then you'll get that piece back as your test. All the other pieces you want to make, you make whatever you want. And then you fire them. You build your kiln and you fire your Raku kiln. We're gonna revolutionize Raku firing. I can just see it now.
It'll be fun.
Raku
kiln in every garage.
All of a sudden, there's going to be Raku kilns in every neighborhood, and all the clay manufacturers are going to be like, why is there no Raku clay? Why is everybody buying up all our Raku clay? I see it happening. It'll be fun. All right, everybody. That's I think going to wrap it up. Drew, do you have any closing thing to say to everybody? Are you good?
Nope. Sign up for my Raku workshop.
And if you have questions, you can reach out to Drew. His email is andrew@clayscapespottery.com. So you can reach out to him if you have questions about the workshop. As always, you get our workshops forever. So if you can't make the lives, don't worry. You get the recorded broadcast forever, for eternity. So you can use it as a reference. And this is going to be so great because if you're building a kiln, you want to have that reference so you can go back and watch it over and over. And so you get the right parts. And
that second live class and the third one on how to build it and how to fire it are going to be really important if you're making it yourself. You can go back and watch it again and again to make sure you get it right.
And I see some folks that say if they want to fire too, can you pay extra? Reach out to Drew about that. That's going to be up to him. So he'll talk to you about that. So email him. All right. So thank you, Drew, for being a part of this little Q&A session. I think these are really great that our workshop presenters come on before the workshop happens, so you find out what's going on. A lot of times people read the description and they think the workshop's going to be, about this one thing and it won't pertain to them or that won't be interesting to them. And then the live part happens and they realize after they see what everybody else is sharing, oh, that's exactly what I wanted to learn. And I missed the live part. I mean, you still can go back and sign up for the recorded and watch it forever, but it's not the same. When you're there in the live, you can ask your questions right then and there. It's just really fun to be a part of that with the workshops. So I don't want anybody to miss out on the live. Now, of course, if you miss part 1 and you sign up between parts 1 and 2, well, you'll be part of the lives for part 2 and 3. So it's just, someone could be watching this down the line. But I really wanted Drew to come on and talk to you about this so that you
there'll be plenty of time
learn more about Raku.
Between first session and second session, you get some play.
So everybody, we will see you next Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern for Drew's workshop. Everybody who's taking it will be part 1 then. And if you have any questions in the meantime, reach out to Drew or you can reach out to me. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. Have a great Friday. Make some good pots. And if you're somewhere it's nice, get outside and